Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Well, welcome to Encounter. I'm your host today, Joe Sellepack. This is one of those times of year where all of us remember harvest, and we remember all kinds of things that we're grateful for and we're thankful for. But one of the other things that marks this time of year, especially for people in the Jewish tradition, are the High Holy Days. And to talk with me about the High Holy Days of Judaism is Rabbi Barbara Goldman-Wartell. She's the rabbi at Temple Concord. Welcome to Encounter, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be with you today.
So this is like if you wanted to draw a parallel with Christianity, this would be like Christmas or Easter for you. It would be like really high as far as like the amount of religious celebrations and things that are going on at the moment. So you want to walk us through what's going on?
Okay, so this is our High Holiday season. So while holidays are throughout the year, in essence, this month of Tishrei, which began with Rosh Hashanah, has major holidays of many different kinds of themes. So we began at the last new moon, welcoming the new moon and the new year, 5781. And that is Rosh Hashanah, which means the head of the year. And on that holiday, we have services. And one of the things particularly people think of is the sounding of the shofar, of the ram's horn.
Yeah.
And so you're commanded to hear the shofar sounded. So this year with COVID-19 and the pandemic, we have been having our services online and have not been meeting in person. So that became very challenging. We've been meeting online since March. So we did all of our services online, and we had the shofar recorded ahead of time, and the reading of the Torah scroll, because touching of the Torah scroll, also a lot of people should not be touching it at the same time due to COVID. So we did all of that in the service, but many people really want to hear the shofar sounded live. So while we did all of our services that way, when we surveyed the congregation about the holidays, they were sick, they were lots of things, but they really were going to miss being together.
Right.
And the Rosh Hashanah is evening services and morning services, and in the afternoon we usually had a big reception outside, and then people would get together and have social time. So that's one of those things that people miss. So we did a drive-through. We don't have a parking lot, so that became really challenging. So I'm most thankful for St. Michael's Orthodox Church and Father Jim Dutko for allowing us to use their parking lot for 2 hours on that Saturday, Rosh Hashanah afternoon. And people could drive through, and we had our shofar blower sounding the shofar, but we also gave out different things. We gave out sweets for the new year. Traditionally, you would have apples and honey and round food, so we gave sweets out. We gave out, we have another ceremony called Tashlich, where we used to do bread, but it's not good for the waterfowls, so we do some bird food, and you throw it into the water to get rid of your sins and ask forgiveness. This is a time of great introspection. So we are looking inside of ourselves and looking at our relationships with others and our relationship with God. And the period from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur continues that process. So we also gave, we have a memorial book, because on Yom Kippur, we have a memorial service, and we remember all of our loved ones who've died and all others who've lost their lives, not just in this year, but for over time. So we light memorial candles at home but we have all of our memorial lights lit in the sanctuary. So that was something else people were going to miss. So we had our memorial book distributed, and we've started to use stones to put on the edge of the bima, which is like the stage, the podium, to remember our loved ones. We now have a garden in the back, a memorial rock garden, stone garden, to put our stones of remembrance, and people could use them in their home on Yom Kippur around their memorial candle, and then bring them in later. I'm forgetting some other, we have Jewish calendars that from one of the funeral homes that we're appreciative of, that we also distributed. And we also we have a big food donation program for Chow in the fall. Yeah. And so we had cars there to take up the collections. So we did all of that. We had 49 cars who came through, which was amazing.
Yeah, and it was a great thing.
It was very exciting because it was going to be very hard not seeing each other. So we saw each other and that was a great way to celebrate. We also had, instead of a choir, we had a quartet with our soloist who is in Vermont, and with the help of a gifted technician, we had music videos with our music director, the quartet, and our soloist for many of the pieces of music that we would most often have in our service. And on Yom Kippur, we also have a meditative music program in the afternoon, which was recorded ahead with Pedritz, Tim Perry, and Hakan Romek. So the three of them had recorded that ahead, and Hakan also does one of the major prayers called Nidre with us, and that was recorded ahead as well. So we had many pieces to put together, and thankfully two dedicated people to help make it all come together for Yom Kippur, because our services on Yom Kippur start at 9 in the morning, and really the program doesn't end till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Well, this sounds like it's nearly. Is it 2 weeks, or how long is that period of time between Yom Kippur and?
Well, for Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur is 10 days, and then 5 days later we have Sukkot, which is the festival of booths, and you see my sukkah around me, and so then we have a great day of celebration. So this is our New Year, Rosh Hashanah, our Day of Atonement, which is a fast day. And so it's a solemn day, but the anticipation towards the end, there's a high point, and at the end, again, the shofar is sounded at the end of it as well. Then we move to the next holiday. So the holidays are not just those two, it continues to Sukkot, which is one of the names for it is it's a time of our celebration. So it really is the basis upon which Thanksgiving comes from. Right. Where we are thankful for our harvest and the bounty. And while we may have a lot with apples and with gourds and squashes, we have 4 species from Israel as well that are there, but they are very different, and they actually are grown in all different localities and climates in Israel. So we have the palm frond, which is like the palm leaf when it grows up before it flops over. Right. And then we have the willow leaf and the myrtle leaf, and then we have the etrog or citron. And we hold them all together, and we shake them in all directions because God is everywhere. But we are thankful for the harvest and thankful for God. And then they also are symbolic of either parts of our body, where the etrog is our heart. The palm is like our spine because it holds us up, and yet it's also flexible. Right. So the flexibility is important. The willow is like our lips, and the myrtle is like our eyes. The other symbolism for it over time has been that it's all different kinds of people. So the etrog has a sweet smell and taste, and so it's like people who are learned and also do many good deeds. The palm, it's representative of the date palm, so it doesn't have any smell, but it has a good taste with the dates. And so that is about people who are learned but don't do many good deeds. The willow doesn't have a taste or smell, so it's people who are not very learned and educated and also don't do good deeds. And the myrtle doesn't have any taste, but it's about people who do good deeds and are not learned. And so when we hold them all together, we say that our community is representative of all people. And so we take everyone together, and as a community, we are thankful and we celebrate. So the same thing on our prayers on Yom Kippur, when we ask God for forgiveness for our sins, we do it in the plural. So it doesn't mean that all of us have done every sin, but it means that we as a community offer our apologies and ask for forgiveness. And so there is very much of a communal piece to it. So the piece of Sukkot that was the most hard this year is it's about hospitality and coming together.
Yeah.
So as I am with you today, I have welcomed many people into my sukkah virtually through the computer this year because we can't get together otherwise. So we have a sukkah up at the temple, and again, people could come anytime. They could come to decorate it, but we couldn't do our usual gatherings. And so that's very hard for the holiday as well.
Yeah, I have been to a sukkah for, I think it was Rabbi Adamit, who was at Temple, he was at the Temple Beth David. And they invited all of their neighbors to the sukkah, and they fed us, and they did a lot of things like that. And I always thought that was kind of interesting because we, when we weren't, because they were very traditional, and in many ways they couldn't come to any of the parties that we would throw or that other people would throw, and they wouldn't eat if they came. But this was their way of being able to be hospitable to people who would otherwise not be able to celebrate with them.
Well, the idea is bringing people together, and it's about community. And if your neighborhood is a neighborhood of people of different groups, you invite them. So this year, that's very difficult that we can't do those things. Right. So, not being able to come together, and so I can say, you can come over even if I'm not here. The sukkah is here, but I can't have a lot of people at one time. So if I have people in my sukkah is only 8 feet by 8 feet at my home. And so I'm sitting at the edge of it, outside of it, if I have guests in the sukkah, and they have to be of one unit. Otherwise, they can't all be in the sukkah at the same time. So the holidays present many challenges for us, and we aren't done yet. So Sukkot ends this weekend, and we have the holiday at the end of Sukkot, Simchat Torah, and we celebrate the finishing of the cycle of reading of the first 5 books of the Bible and begin again. So we read the last part of Deuteronomy, and we begin again with Genesis, with Breshit, and usually we take out all the Torahs, we dance around with them, and at our congregation we usually unroll the whole Torah around our whole social hall and have people read different parts of it. Well, we can't do that with the Torah. We can't gather, so that it's very hard because we danced, we celebrated, we sang. So that's a real challenge of how to celebrate these holidays. So as you're hearing different things of other groups, Jewish groups in the community, for those who are not able to use technology on the holiday, they can't even gather as we will be online. Temple Israel is doing things on Zoom, and so are we, but the Orthodox community is not able to do that. So it becomes very difficult, and you feel a great loss, as I know other people of other faith have when not been able to follow their usual traditions and customs as well. So the idea of not gathering together, not being able to touch one another, not being able to really touch the Torah, it's very hard. So we find other ways to celebrate. So one of the things we're doing, along with a video of pictures of different years of all of us with the Torah, and I've recorded the Torah reading, we are going to be on Friday night part of a concert nationwide with a group called Nefesh Mountain. They're doing a concert, celebration of life, celebration of Torah, and we're going to be a part of that for over an hour with people from 4 time zones, all engaged together. So that's the way we can come together virtually, and it's not the same, but it's what we're able to do. So I think it's all a part of all these changes. It's okay to feel sad and to miss the things we're used to doing, but then what can we do to still celebrate, to still observe, to still support one another in all of this, even in a time where the pandemic means we have to change our ways.
Yeah.
So I spoke on the holidays about different times in Jewish history and responses of communities in the past, and of writings of individuals who talk about how difficult it was for them to be, in essence, locked in their homes, no radio, no television, no computers. They sustained themselves, and how they continue to support one another as a community through it all. So while this is our first rodeo with COVID-19, there have been many examples of plagues, of pandemics, of epidemics in history, and we've seen different ways that they have been slowed down, and we've seen how different groups and individuals have coped, and great toll it has taken, and the amazing amount of resilience and resourcefulness that people use to continue and to continue with what matters in the midst of challenging times.
Yeah, I was, it's interesting that you bring that up, because there is very few people in our area who probably have been in a sukkah, and now, you've invited a community into your sukkah that is even bigger than that. I mean, Encounter goes out to the viewership is about 4,000 to 5,000 people, and today they're in your sukkah, and to think that we wouldn't normally do this. If I had you on in the station and we were just talking, we wouldn't see the color or the work that you've done to make your sukkah so beautiful, and to invite us in and show us hospitality in that way.
So let me show you what's important about it. What's important about it is, you see the roof?
Yeah.
You have to be able to see the sun through it, the cloud through it, get rain through it, see stars. And so while it has sides on it, the top of it has to be open. So it's symbolic of both the temporary dwellings that the Israelites were in the wandering in the wilderness from Egypt before they got to the promised land, and also of earlier harvest when they lived in walled cities and they had to go out to their fields to harvest, and there wasn't time to go back and forth, so they had to put up temporary dwellings in the corners of their fields for the harvest. So, it's chilly this year here, so I added tarps to the outside of mine, along with my lattice work sides, because I lit Shabbat candles out here last week. And even with a glass thing around them, I was concerned they wouldn't stay lit. And we made Havdalah for the end of Shabbat with a braided candle. And I also wanted a chance that the candle would stay lit, even if there was a breeze. So with the tarps and the lattice work, I have some protection from the winds on the side. But when it rains, as I cleaned off the table and chairs, which had a lot of water this morning. I did it once yesterday from the rain. So you get wet when it rains. Yeah, and you're supposed to eat your meals in the sukkah throughout the holiday, unless it's coming so much that your soup would get full of rainwater, and then you actually can eat inside.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm glad to hear that. And hail would probably still hurt, like it did.
I did shovel snow off the top of my sukkah one year. I think it was 10 or 11 years ago, and in Allentown there had been significant snow, and I never knew if I didn't know was it going to hold up or not, but I was literally up on a ladder shoveling the snow off the top of the sukkah. It was after Sukkot, but I hadn't taken it down yet, and there was like this much snow on top.
Wow, that's a lot of snow.
Uh-huh.
And the wind yesterday didn't mess it up either.
No, which was pretty amazing. I brought a few loose things in, but by and large, everything stayed pretty well. So
that's great. Now, is there any other significance, like to the color? The colorful things that are hanging from your
Not
seat?
really. The idea of adorning it and decorating it. There was a time when I used to use corn stalks for the top, across with stone with ropes and all. And the squirrels used to use it like a trapeze and all that to get the corn off. So I haven't done that anymore, but you can do lots of things. So when my children were littler, we strung cranberries and popcorn, but we did paper chains. So it can be any kind of thing. So at this point, I am thrilled to have environmentally friendly materials with the cloth signs. They're all different blessings. And with the fabric, that means that if it gets wet, it dries and I can use it from year to year. It can be, the decorations can be any kind of thing. And you can use gourds. It's hard to hang gourds, but you can display things all around. So there's no one way to decorate. We also have the tradition of inviting, not just inviting people now, but inviting people from the past, figures in Jewish history, biblical figures. So the first night you invite Abraham and Sarah. And so we invite people from history and would have a conversation. What were the questions we would ask them? And we honor their memories as well. And so we can invite other people from history. You know, who would we invite to be in the sukkah with us? Who would we want to have a conversation with? And have that kind of thing as well. So I have some of the posters I have are about the traditional people to be inviting each day of Sukkot. And at one point it was all men, then it was men and women. So two of them have the men and one has the women of the posters around my sukkah of the different people, and they're all biblical. So going from Abraham and Sarah up to David. You know, the pairings aren't always from the same period in history, but if different people, Deborah, who was a judge and leader. So there are different pieces like that as well.
Now, would they be like, would you talk about like people in history as far as like leaders and things like that too? Or is it just?
Absolutely, I open up the possibilities and I ask children you know, who would they invite if they can invite anyone into their sukkah? So some of the people who were quarantining were inviting their closest friends and their grandparents who they couldn't see right now. Others, some came up with figures or characters from, I don't even know, I didn't know some of them if they were from their favorite books or TV shows or videos. You know, and then people would want to invite Martin Luther King Jr., Ruth Bader Ginsburg, maybe our elected leaders today. And, you know, if they could invite anyone to the sukkah, who would they invite? And so you could talk about why was that person important to you? What would you ask them if they could be here? And then we also can study in the sukkah, so we can learn more things about what somebody wrote or said or that kind of thing. So it offers many, many possibilities. I believe that I had the Children of Abraham planning group in the sukkah more than once at Temple Concord at a time when we could gather as well.
Did you remember any of the things that the children said that they would ask these people?
One of the children this year said that they would invite Moses and they'd want to know about the burning bush.
Oh, wow.
So that's great. So that's what the students said. And I think the teachers were thinking, wow, they remembered, you know, that's not the most important lesson you teach. And, you know, so you don't know what they remember. There are so many different possibilities. One of my colleagues posted that a child said they would really want to invite themselves to really be present and with themselves and comfortable with themselves. And that's important today, to be present where we are and to be okay about who we are, even in these changing times. So that's a lesson, I think, for all of us. So I can eat in the sukkah and enjoy myself here, just myself, or just myself and my dog, even when I can't have others, or I can be on Zoom with other people. And so it's a very different way. As I know, we all had challenges. We did Passover Seders where we used to cook for large numbers of people. Now we have to cut the recipes down because we may just be one or two at our house, and another house they have people too. So as the Christian holidays come up as well, those same challenges will be presented. How do we still make things holy and special and observe the things that are so important in our traditions, even when safety and health and those matters mean that we cannot do them the way we're most accustomed to? So maybe, I mean, we all did it. We did Passover before you guys did Easter, so we got to experiment on that one. And as we are finishing up our holy season, Hanukkah is really a minor holiday and much more home-based, so that can be done with families. But Kippur, Rosh Hashanah is much more synagogue-based, and so is Simchat Torah this weekend usually with the Torah. So as we have these challenges and have found different ways to try to continue to remember the meaning, savor that meaning, and to honor the importance for us as people of faith and as Jews, I hope that I know that my Christian colleagues are looking in communities on how to do that as well. So as the pandemic continues, we continue with these challenges, and we are all people of faith, and our traditions, our customs, our beliefs, our values continue to stay important for us to both stay true to ourselves and to share with one another in ways that are respectful.
Well, I want to thank you, Barbara, for inviting Rabbi Goldman-Wartell for inviting us into your sukkah today so that we can celebrate this high holy day with you. And to all of you who are watching, I would ask that you would be good and gentle with each other. Thanks for watching.